I'll start by asking Sanjay Jha for his views on this, because you've heard from the BJP and the Congress counter attack on each other on the issue of whether Rahul is in the right and the wrong. You've been tracking politics for a long time. Does it appear odd to you that Rahul Gandhi goes out, asks for European and American help in saving India's democracy? Sanjay?
Rahul, not at all. We live in a global village. This program, when it is uploaded on YouTube, will be watched by my brother in New York, by my cousin in London, by my friend in Tokyo, by my associates of the past in New Zealand, and somebody in Haiti. What's a big deal? I mean, you know, how can you expect him to be inconsistent? When during the Bharat Jodo Yatra and over the last several years, Rahul Gandhi and the opposition, by the way, has questioned the authoritarian, manifestations of this government. You want him to go to London and suddenly say, no, Indian democracy is in fantastic health when the Economist has called India a flawed democracy? When you have the Freedom Index talking about India actually becoming an elected autocracy? You think that the BJP spokesperson here, who talks about foreign intervention, can I give him one example of what that is? That was the most brazen, blatant misdemeanor in global politics. You had the Prime Minister of India endorsing an incumbent president of the United States by saying, "Ab ki baar Trump sarkar." This is during an election year in America. I mean, you cannot reach a lower denominator in terms of foreign policy that Mr. Modi demonstrated. The critical point, Rahul, that we need to understand here, that end of day, Rahul Gandhi is in the UK, but nobody is stopping the Indian Prime Minister, Mr. Modi, the Prime Minister of the world's largest democracy, for 9 years. Not a single press conference other than a few choreographed TV interviews that nobody takes seriously at all. So that is the problem that the BJP has. And I think Rahul Gandhi, I've been critical of him over the last couple of years in terms of some leadership decisions. But you have to take your hats off to the fact that he spoke with a cool, calm demeanor. And I'll call the bluff of the BJP here on your show. The debate on which he talks about the US and the UK and other democracies not commenting on India is linked to the BBC episode. Now, let me tell you what has been written in the worldwide media. And by the way, New York Times and the BBC taking on their own government. The debate has been that when the income tax in India raided the BBC, Mr. Sunak kept silent, and the US president and the entire State Department actually chose to be, typically diplomatic template, we want to not comment on it at this point. I think Rahul's context of telling the other governments that are you even aware of what's going on in this country is not intervention. It's about actually abdicating your diplomatic responsibility just because you're getting some commercial and probably investment.
Let's hear from Sushant Sarin. Your argument is that because there are commercial interests, because India is a rising power, therefore the countries in Europe, the United States, not taking on India in the way that they would in the past. And Rahul Gandhi is entitled to draw the world's attention to what he thinks is wrong with India's democracy. He's in the opposition, that's his job. I hold him back from doing his job. Sushant Sarin.
Rahul, I don't think anybody has any problem with Rahul Gandhi going and, talking about Indian democracy, even if in disparaging terms. I think the problem which many people among us have is precisely the fact that you have raised, that he is seeking intervention. He is seeking a kind of an intervention. Why are you guys so quiet? Why are you not doing something about it? What does he expect them to do about it? Frankly, the Western media, yes, has been unremittingly hostile and in some cases very unfairly so. For example, on the entire COVID crisis, did the Western countries handle it really well? I don't think so. Were there not dead bodies in truck trailers out there? Did they ever photograph it the way they photographed the scenes of Shamshan Ghats? So there has been a sustained attack on this government, which is okay, which is fair enough, right? One doesn't have a problem with that. But to say that, the world needed Mr. Rahul Gandhi to go out there and inform them what is happening in India is to actually attribute to them a level of ignorance which I think is not entirely correct, because most of those countries have functioning missions in India, which obviously would be filing daily reports. Now, clearly those countries would be seeing, and their embassies would be reporting to them, that yes, Mr. Gandhi did a Bharat Jodo Yatra. He walked the entire length of the country. Was he stopped anywhere? Was there any obstacle put in his path? Was he not free to speak out there? He goes to Britain and he says that my voice is shut. I cannot go to a university in India and speak. How many universities has he gone to in India and actually spoken to students out here? That's a fact, right? Do you think all of those things are simply brushed under the carpet? But having said that, I must say one thing, that there is a battle of perceptions about this government outside India. And I think the strategic communications of this government have been very clumsy, to say the least. In the sense that some of the impressions which many of those countries have gained need to be dispelled and the truth needs to be brought out. For example, on the BBC documentary, my issue is not so much that it was a hit job on what happened in Gujarat, because you could do a documentary on a riot after riot after riot under the Congress dispensation, and I can recount them to you. Moradabad, Meerut, Malyana, Bhiwandi, Bombay, Bhagalpur. I could rattle off one after another, right? Indian democracy was safe at that point of time. How come? There was single party domination for many, many years, for many decades in fact. Indian democracy was safe. How come? Journalists were put in prison. There were gag orders on journalists, on the press during many occasions in the previous era. Yet democracy was safe. So the point is that, there is an argument which this government needs to make, and it has been very clumsy in making that argument.
Okay.
But to say that democracy is in danger simply because one particular party is unable to win elections and another party is dominating the political scene right now, and that might not last forever.
Sushant Sarin's argument,
People do bring in change.